Oh man, this is lit. Trying to get the hang of things, figuring things out. God's honest truth. I hope this is clear. So far, when we tested it, everything comes back clear. And this is just me being transparent. Like I said, it's so many topics that we're gonna touch that I ain't even gotta rush and feel like I gotta fit it all in at one episode. First, I'm gonna start by saying I'm recording episode 3 inside of my property. When I say my property, I mean my Airbnb. Um, and I think I may talk about that too, as far as evolving through that, because evolving is means it's in so many different aspects that you can evolve. I know I said emotional, mental, physical, spiritual. Obviously, all that plays a role, but we can actually also put an exact subject or exact thing on it and speak about evolving through that as well. And before I even get there, like I said, we're doing this in my property. I'm definitely proud to say I have a property. Actually, more than one, but this is just the Airbnb. Um, I could say I didn't think I would be owning a property at this age. Of course, I'm 23. I probably should have waited and told y'all that in another episode. But yeah, I'm 23. I started ETE in 2018, fresh out of high school. Um, I didn't tell nobody I was starting it, and that's when I see that when I'm locked in like that, I just do things, and I think that's best. Honestly, I ain't even tell nobody I was starting this back. People have been asking, and I just kept saying I'm gonna figure it out, with no exact start date. But then just like been focusing a lot more, and just we're gonna start where we're at. We may not have everything we had when we first started, or all the resources as of yet, but we'll start where we are at because that's exactly what evolving through experience is. And I'm proud to say that I'm doing this in my property and my Airbnb. Obviously, as this continues to go viral, because we manifesting, of course, evolving through experience is going to be a worldwide brand, show, podcast, but more importantly, purpose. I can't wait for the world to see it. So we'll definitely be able to have more Airbnbs by then. And if y'all need an Airbnb in the Atlanta area, coming to Atlanta for anything, definitely tap in. But more importantly, I wanted to get straight to it. As far as journaling, this episode is going to be surrounded by journaling. I'm gonna tell a quick story to be transparent. I think the first time I don't know the exact time when I first started journaling. Obviously, when the first time I started, I wasn't consistent. I think I was exposed to journaling and the importance of it by my uncle, if I'm not mistaken. At a young age, like I said, I've been very in tune from a young age, about a lot of things, whether I knew it at the time, of course, or not. As I reflect back, now I see how things have aligned. But I think I was in middle school, if I'm not mistaken, when I first started journaling. My uncle exposed me to it. Obviously, being in middle school, we're kids. People don't understand what it means, and I could say I probably didn't really understand what it means, but it was. I think that's when I started. And obviously, kids, we're young adults, so we crack jokes. I think I was being joked on about it. Although I didn't go into detail about what it was, I just went to school with a little black book. It could have been a notebook to learn in class, although I wasn't really learning nothing that was substance. I went to class, of course, but as far as journaling, like I said, at this time, this is when I first started. And people was always, I think it was obviously a few people, kids my age, like, yo, what is that? Like joking about it, like, yo, you journaling? And at the time, I think I lied and say, nah, this ain't journaling. I ain't want to go into detail because obviously, even at that moment, I knew some things people mindsets are not really developed for to understand things. Even though I would say I didn't really fully understand it at the time, I understood more than what others would have understood. They always thought maybe journaling is just for girls. And I think that's what it was. I think they thought journaling was just for women and girls, at the end of the day. But again, this goes back to episode 2, F Society Beliefs. So we're about to get into it. Journaling at a young age. Yeah, I started journaling at a young age. Like I said, I wasn't consistent. but I did start then, and I believe that planted the seed to where I am today and where I'm going to go. At the end of the day, journaling has done a lot for me. I think journaling is one of the best resources. Um, when you're young and when you're old or whatever you want to call it, at any age overall, journaling is good because sometimes you're trying to figure out your thoughts, and sometimes we have a lot of thoughts in our heads, different emotions that we're trying to deal with. And although we do have to get to a place where we can communicate these things with people, truth is, people won't always be around. People won't always be available. And that's not saying that they're bad people. At the end of the day, everybody has something they're dealing with. It's not necessarily you putting it on them. Obviously, it shouldn't be that if you do need to talk to a friend or a family member. But at the end of the day, life be lifing. So people dealing with their own things. But even outside of that, even if you do have somebody that's always a listening ear, which is good, I think we still have to balance out where you need to sometimes listen to yourself. And journaling can truly help that, I believe. And I'm speaking from my personal experience, just writing things down, trying to figure your thoughts out, because it can release a healthy energy when you're writing down the things that's bothering you. And it doesn't necessarily mean the things that's bothering you, and then over the course of the years or the time that you're journaling, you'll be able to look back one day and be like, yo, I was writing like this then. Like, obviously you'll laugh about it because you'll be like, yo, whatever I was dealing with, you'll be like, yo, it wasn't even that serious. Or even if it was that serious, you'll be able to see the actual growth, and writing it can actually kind of give you a different type of energy, that obviously just thinking about it from the past of when it happened in the past won't give you that same type of energy. And like I said, you can actually see yourself evolving when you do right. Like, you can look back and be like, yo, I wrote this in 2014 and it's 2023. Look how much growth I've had. And I think Drake said this too, like, subtle reminders are key. You ever look back and be like, yo, like, on something that happened in the past, and you could laugh about it, although it may have been a serious situation or not even serious, but it's just like, wow, like, I've really grown from there. And it's not even something you can necessarily explain to somebody. It's just something you actually feel as a person, as an individual that actually went through it. So this is why I personally journal. I think more people should journal. And like I said before, I think society, not even I think, but the beliefs of society put it on that only women or females can journal. I'm just gonna say women, but because obviously I know one thing: females can be anything. It could be a female bird, a female dog, no pun intended, a female frog, but women, humans, it can only be, it can't, you're not going to hear a woman bird. It doesn't make sense. um but to stay on topic at the end of the day, so I'm going to just say women, but I know society has put on us the lie that only and mainly women do it, but men, we have to do this too. And I'm saying this because I used to fall in that stigma, thinking like, oh, we can't do that, that's a girl's thing. um and let's be honest, some things are strictly for women. We'll get into that at another date. And that's no disrespect to anybody. That's just a fact. At the end of the day, though, we have to focus on understanding, like, journaling and actually releasing these energies of what's bothering us and putting it to paper are vital. Just same way reading books are vital. I'm definitely gonna have to do an episode on that, because even at some point I didn't like to read. And I don't think it was I didn't like to read. I just think I wasn't reading anything of substance, and I didn't see the value in it. Because once you see the value in something, of course you'll be able to do it easier or adjust to it because you see value in it. And I don't think nothing's wrong with that. You have to see value in it to order to deal with it. I'm not going to deal with something if it's not substance or it's not beneficial to me. What's the point of that? We got enough society trying to put that on us and trying to distract us from what's actually important. And that's evolving through experience in every single aspect you could think of. It's not in one way somebody can't bring something up and it's not, it doesn't have some form of evolving. So at the end of the day, everybody needs to journal. Journaling is key, and I'll definitely be going into this a lot more with evolving through experience. Speaking, as I'm speaking about journaling, truth is, I actually been journaling consistently for a while now. And consistent, I think we also could talk about this too. Consistent doesn't mean you have to do something every single day. If you do it 3 times a week and you stick to that schedule, that's consistent. If you do it 1 time a week, that's consistent. Consistent doesn't mean you have to do it every single day, every single hour of the day, every single second of the day. Consistent just means you planning something out, and you stick to the plan on whatever that is. So with journaling, one more time for the one time, journaling is also, like I said, with the energy, it's a form of healing, because even when you before you look back years later and see how you've grown, you can currently look at the current situation now and write out what's bothering you and see the value in it. You don't necessarily have to be years along or years later to look back at your journaling. You can look back to tomorrow. You can look back a few hours and see. And when you put these things out, it's kind of like a release mechanism. So when something's bothering you, you put it on paper or you speak to somebody, it makes you feel good. And like I said, people won't always be there for you to talk to. And that's not necessarily a fault to them or a bash at them. Again, life be life, and people dealing with their own things. And even if they do make time, it's like they just can't make time right now. Sometimes we need something done right now, which is also okay. So why not be the resource for that? Having a journal where you can sit and write it out on what's bothering you. And I'm only saying this again because this is something I've done, and it's something I continue to do, especially when it's things bothering me. And even with evolving through experience, like I put things in journals that I want to see happen with evolving through experience, things that I felt a way about with evolving through experience, building up the company or whatever. And that's okay, because this is, like I said, with evolving through experience, I'm just gonna give y'all the honest truth, the transparency, and let y'all know I'm walking in the same shoes you all are. I know a lot of people think that I may have things together or everything is put together. And I know we can sometimes think that about other people, but truth be told, we all just trying to figure this thing out. Figure this thing out. And in order to do that, we got to continue to evolve. Evolving with the ing, of course, but it's a continuous process overall that we have to keep in mind. We can't allow it to consume us in a negative way, but we have to understand, like, we're gonna take this day by day, week by week. We're gonna have our moments, and that's okay. I think we gotta understand that we're gonna have our moments and not beat ourselves up over having those moments, because those moments are gonna continue to come. In order to evolve on a continuous process, we have to have those moments. We gotta be thankful for those moments too, not only from the lessons, but mainly, well, I would say not only from the lessons, but mainly because of the lessons. If we never had sunlight, how could we appreciate? If we never had rain, how could we appreciate sunlight? If we never had sunlight, how can we appreciate rain? You got to have both in order to pretty much be thankful, take the lessons from it, in order to see growth. And the planet and nature is a prime example of that. If we didn't have rainwater, how would we get our food? Real food, the plants, the vegetables, the fruits. We got to have the rainwater. Those dark, not necessarily dark in a negative way, but rain obviously is not sun outside all the time for the most part. So we got to have that rainwater come through for all of our real food. Like I said, we'll get into that more later on what I mean by real food. Because I'm evolving. But at the end of the day, we need that just as much as we need the sun. The sun is going to come through and help those same fruits, vegetables, and food grow, so we can have something consume in a healthier way. So all I'm saying is we need both. So those moments where we feel like we evolving and growing, and I'm saying this because this is from personal experience too. Feel like we growing, and then we feel like we getting 3 steps back. Nah, we not getting really 3 steps back. It may be a pause, but it's never going backwards. It's really moving forward. The pause may seem backwards, but it's not. So that's why it's just important. Yeah, before we wrap up episode 3, just do not even a recap, just a reminder, because we need reminders in life. I need reminders in life because sometimes we can get caught up in things that are important, but we also have other things that are important. So again, journaling is healthy for men and women. Don't let nobody tell you different. And if they do, ask them why and see if it makes sense. At the end of the day, we all have healing to do. Not saying I'm manifesting that everybody's been through trauma, but that a lot of people have been through things. And who are we to say whether we feel like it's a big scale of trauma or not? Obviously, it's bothered them in some capacity, affected them in some capacity. And if it's not addressed, it's going to continue to affect them, more than likely in a negative way. And then it's going to be passed on to other people, maybe even their family, maybe even their kids, maybe a random down the street. And we're going to get into that because we have to deal with these emotions, um, and understanding how to channel it for the better. Because one thing I can say, if we don't, and we've seen examples of it, people not dealing with it and not healing, where it can lead to. It can lead to more of that trauma because now you just did something that you can't take back, and that can affect not only your life but lives of other people's, lives of future generations, because it plays a role. Just like everything in our life has played a role, from the first time you learned how to tie your shoe to how you learned how to tie your shoe. To this day, you probably still tie your shoe that same way. It's something simple, but it just shows that even some of the simplest things can still have an effect on our lives. So if something so simple like that can have an effect on your lives, imagine when you don't deal with something that's traumatic for years, and then, or somebody, not even you, but somebody doesn't deal with something, and then they lash out in a non-healthy way, and now somebody's family, somebody's life is messed up. And that doesn't necessarily mean in the worst way possible, but it can have an effect, and in the worst way possible. So at the end of the day, journaling is one way I believe people can start healing. I'm not saying it's the exact solution. I'm not even saying evolving through experience is the exact solution, but evolving is the solution. Um, I hope that don't go over your heads. But at the end of the day, thank you all. This is the third episode of Evolving Through Experience. I'm looking forward to many more. Definitely got a great guest lineup. Just wanting to lay the groundwork first and foremost. We're going to be covering so much. So if you enjoyed this episode, rewatch it. Nah, nah. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely just share it. Feel free to share the feedback. Because again, I know a lot of things I'm going to be saying, is going to be relatable. So I want to hear feedback. If y'all feel like the audio could have been better, that's cool. Like I said, we evolving. I don't even know when each episode is going to drop on a consistent basis. It's going to be consistent, but I don't know how it's going to be consistent, if that makes sense. So we're just going to see where it goes. I'm going to allow evolving through my experience to decide which route this is going to go. But overall, it's about being consistent. So make sure you definitely like us, follow us on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. Follow us on Instagram. You can follow my personal IG, Twitter, TikTok, all that. Because at the end of the day, we was consistent, but we're not here to dwell on what we was. We're gonna focus on what we are going to be and how all the experiences are working in our favor, whether we realize it or not. And the last thing I'll say, can't be, well, we'll talk about this on another episode, but can't be the person that says what it was. We don't want to go 10 years from now and be like, oh, I wanted to do that. I wanted to do this, because 10 years is going to come, and then it's going to be 20 years. And then you're going to sit back and realize, like, I still haven't done it because I'm trying to figure it out step by step. Truth be told, if we kind of look at it, nothing we've done in life has been figured out step by step. Most of us are here by, obviously, this is a kid's show, but it wasn't planned. And I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way. It's the honest truth. And sometimes even when things are planned, it don't go that way, even if that's ultimately what we want. So at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to just evolving with you all, looking to evolve with my supporters. And even if you're not a supporter, I want you to evolve too, in whatever capacity that means, but as long as it's for the better.